right. You are now listening to the Bloop and a Blast podcast with myself, Justin Casuccio, and my co-host, Luke Scott. And Luke, I always joke around with the guys that you are the most interesting guy that we know. And, you know, you travel around different continents, seeing the different landscapes that this great world has to offer. But I have to ask you, you said you started a company this week. So I just wanted to give you a chance to give a quick plug there.
Quick plug. Wow. Shameless plug. Well, I'll keep it short. I'll keep it sweet. Essentially, it's a company to empower independent authors to record their own audiobooks. So there's a huge barrier right now for independent authors because usually they don't have a ton of funding. They don't have the money to be able to spend $3,000, $4,000 to get their audiobooks created and mastered, and also meeting submission standards and guidelines on Audible and all the other audiobook platforms. So essentially, we created a software that allows these authors to turn their written works into audio format. We posted on Reddit, and there seems to be a lot of people, a lot of authors out there who are looking for an alternative, want to create their audiobooks, but literally just can't afford to do it. So this seems like a great way. And I mean, I've always loved reading. You know that. I always go to all those baseball games, but I still got a paperback in my my baseball bag, you know, just in case there's a rain delay. So yeah, it's definitely a passion of mine, and I think it solves a need that exists out in the real world. So we'll see how it goes. Early days, but I appreciate you allowing me to give a little plug here.
He definitely does. Love his reading. Actually, I remember one time I was just driving through Dundas. I don't remember who I was with, but I saw Luke just walking down the street, and he was on his way to the library, just getting some books from the local library there. So hilarious because, you know, I mean, I love going to the library as much as anyone else, but and it was just a curious thing. He's just a very curious guy, Luke is. But that's great, man. It's a great initiative, and I'm happy for you. I think that's going to be great. I love a good audiobook too. Just saves you the trouble of, you know, flipping through the pages. And I mean, there's a time and a place for both. But that's great, man. You want to get into the baseball this week? Where do you want to start off?
Let's get into the baseball. There's a lot of places to start. I think quite exciting headline news. Is there anything that jumps out to you right off the bat? Something that you saw that made you go, wow?
Yeah, tonight, actually. I actually only caught the innings 6 through 9 of the Jays game. And I thought it was fitting that Teoscar Hernandez made the final catch of the game because right when I started watching, he basically took the game over by himself with those 2 home runs. And that was really fun to watch. I was a little disappointed that for whatever reason, I kind of just missed the game today. I just kind of slipped my mind. And, you know, obviously, as you know, I got the vaccine today. So my mind's in a lot of different places. Got a few little side effects there. Maybe a few trips to the bathroom extra, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
a little cool sweat.
Yeah, a little cool sweat. I actually do have a pretty good sweat going through my hair here. So, you know, it's a lot of unknown agents running through my body right now. But so anyways, I caught the last few innings of that game. And, you know, Ryu was obviously looks like he had a great game. Looks
dominant,
like he pitched pretty well, too. And that was cool to see. So, yeah, maybe you can fill me in on the early part of that game for a sec.
I actually only caught the end of the game, too. I probably caught, I'd say, the last probably 4 innings. I actually saw the first 2 innings, but then had to hop on a work call classic of that game. Out in the Western time, it still was around working hours when the game started. So it was a really entertaining one from the beginning. I do really like watching Ryu pitch. He definitely thinks the game out, and actually watching him hit too was pretty funny. They had a bit of a segment on him when he hit his first home run for the Dodgers in, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe. I forget exactly when, but just watching how this man would swing and run around the bases. I've never seen a home run trot like this guy trotted around. Like, he was all on his toes. It's just like, I don't know. I guess he was just excited, but it looked like he'd never run around the bases in his life. But that being said, he's one hell of a pitcher.
Yeah, he's a fun character.
He had some ugly hacks today, though. But I mean, hey, this is what's going to happen. You're going to put pitchers in, hitters' shoes. It's going to be ugly. Like, that's not what you're paying to watch, really. But I hate to say it, it still is interesting. I did pay extra attention. I saw him come to bat. I was like, I just want to see how this guy swings the bat. Like, can he handle the lumber? And one guy who actually really impressed me, I was watching a game the other day, was Marcus Stroman. Actually looks like a legit batter. Like, he's obviously not good, but he doesn't look ugly up there. But
Yeah,
side note,
he can
what's
rake it.
that?
Sure. Yeah, Stroman can handle the bat.
Yeah, I think they pinch hit. I think it was one year the Jays pinch hit for him actually in an extra innings game. They pinch hit Stroman for I forget who it was, but
He hit
yeah,
home run at the new Turner Field. What's it called now? Truist Park.
Truist. Yeah.
He's fun to watch for sure. You know, there's a part of me that's going to miss watching the pitchers hit. I mean, I know I was ragging on it in the previous episodes, but it's going to be interesting to see how long this is going to take for the universal DH to be implemented, because, you know, it's only a matter of time. I think we're going to be looking back on this in the not too distant future and just saying, wow, I can't believe that was actually a thing. But maybe we should enjoy it while we can, just to take in some of the pitchers who rake.
Yeah, it is a novelty. You watch a guy hit a home run. I think was it Hauser last week? Hit a bomb. Well, also had a really good start. I think he had 10 Ks. It's funny. I was kind of ragging on him earlier, saying, "Oh, he doesn't have any K potential. He's not a very sexy player." And then he goes out and hits a home run and strikes 10 guys out over, I think it was 6 innings. So, yeah, it is kind of fun, but not worth the risk. Still, the logical side of me is like the novelty is great, but it's not really worth, you know, a guy tearing his shoulder or getting pegged and breaking his hand or something, and then he's out for the season. So, one pitcher I do want to touch on, and more for his pitching, was Chatwood today. Looked good.
Me too,
he
man.
looked good, man. He looked really, really good, which is surprising because, you know, there was all these signings from the offseason, and meanwhile, here's Chatwood. He's the one delivering. Like, he spent time on the IL, but he's back, and he looks nice. And he put the best 3 hitters, I'd say, in that Braves lineup down in the 8th inning. Like, that was kind of the save. Like, for him,
For sure.
you know, and that was with a 1-run game. And then the Jays go back in the 9th, put a couple extra runs on the board, and that's an easy kind of 3-run save there. So I really am impressed by him, and he's been pitching great.
Yeah, he's looking like a late inning fireman for the Jays, you know, just slamming the door shut, putting out those fires. He could probably be a great guy to come in with runners on base, high leverage situations. I'm just really, really happy with what we're seeing out of Chatwood. Really unexpected coming off the season that he had with the Cubs. And I just think that was an under the radar signing that I think really is paying dividends for the Jays. Mm-hmm. Do you want to get into our first segment? We're going to go back to nap time and talk about some sleepers, both guys that are sleeping on you, getting you pretty frustrated, and also the guys that are, you know, contributing in a lot of positive ways, and just being, you know, some guys that have been pleasant surprises so far.
Yeah, I want to bring someone up who's not really as much of a sleeper now, just because he's made so many huge waves this year. That's Jesse Winker. Obviously, he's just knocking the cover off the ball, and he's attacking first pitch fastballs in particular at a higher rate than he ever has in past. And I think he was a big walk guy. He always walks, and I think he's still walking a lot. I'm just going to check here. He's 10 walks this year, which is definitely slower pace, but he's trading, you know, walks for I'm going to get up there and I'm going to mash. And you're seeing that in an OPS just under 1,000, which is crazy for a guy that people didn't really give a lot of credit power wise and was more thinking, oh, he'll be a good utility player, you know, gets on base. He's really, really showing up this year. And he had a spurt of it last year where I think it was probably like a month or 2 months where he was one of the hottest hitters in baseball. And now he's following it up. And I think he's really solidified himself as definitely an everyday player in almost any lineup in the MLB. But potentially, if Cincinnati's not looking good by the end of the year, it could be trade bait. He's not too old. He's the guy I would definitely want on my team. He's got a lot of different tools and just a really good bat, a great eye at the plate too. And now that we're seeing some little aggression out of him, I've been really impressed. So not necessarily a sleeper, but I think he was going like 250, maybe around the 200 range. Maybe 250 is a little late in most drafts this year. And he's performing as, you know, a top 10 outfielder right now.
Definitely. I've always been a fan of Jesse Winker, but like we've talked about before, the Reds do have a pretty crowded outfield, so I do think he could be good trade bait, like you said. But he has a phenomenal bat. I mean, that can't be questions. I think that his teammate, Eugenio Suarez, he's a bit of a sleeper in the other way, where he's got a sub 150 batting average. So obviously that's not getting it done. He's got a 43% strikeout rate right now. And I think that he's coming around a little bit. I mean, he's one of my three guys that's sleeping on me, him, Clint Frazier, and obviously Lourdes. But yeah, Eugenio Suarez, I'm a little bit worried, but I don't know how worried to be at this point, just given his track record. He does have one of the most impressive baseball reference pages I've ever seen. I mean, 40 home runs, and just, maybe not from the sense that he's one of the most impressive players of all time, but just one of those under the radar guys that you never hear about. I mean, he never gets any pub. Like, there's no national media. There's no people in baseball circles that really ever give this guy the credit he deserves, maybe. Yeah. And so maybe he is kind of coming down to earth a bit, but I'm a bit surprised and a bit disappointed by Suarez.
True. Yeah, I think he's a good pick. He's just a slow start. He'll turn it around, I think. And by the end of the year, he'll still be putting up those numbers. Maybe not 40 home runs this year, but he'll turn it around. I have full confidence that he will. He's just too good not to. I'll throw a couple names out there for my sleeping on the bench. Well, the first is a kind of an obvious pick, is the guy who's not even in the majors anymore, and that's Keston Hiura. Sucks that he got sent down, but
I can't believe that.
Man, he couldn't even hit the ball. Like, I don't know. He did have an OBP of about 250, but come on, man. Like, just so much pressure on him, I think, to perform. He had all the opportunity in the world. He looked so good when he first came up 2 years back, and he's just taken a nosedive, and I think just needs to go back to the minors and just reset his head a little bit. But very disappointing for someone who is going, 70th, 80th overall, that, oh, wait, he's not even in the majors anymore. Like, he just has to sit on my bench. I can't drop this guy because I used the top 100 pick on him. So what are you going to do?
You're stuck with, no matter what you do, you can't drop a guy like Keston Hiura because you spent too much in the first place to have him on your team. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's definitely frustrating. But, give him some time, give him some seasoning, in the minors. And
a little oregano. Season. A little oregano,
right. You get the
allspice.
Freak out and everything's going to be okay. Everything will be fine. And speaking of the Brewers, I also wanted to mention Jesus Aguilar. I know he doesn't play for the Brew Crew anymore, but in 2018, he had 35 home runs and 108 RBIs for the Brewers in what was basically the only good season he's had in his career. He came back in 2019 fat and out of shape and really just couldn't get anything going. I think he had 12 home runs and 50 RBIs, so huge drop off in production. Last year obviously wasn't his year, like it wasn't a lot of other guys' year, but this year he's actually off to a great start. He's got 7 home runs and 27 RBIs for the Fish, and a 357 on base percentage. So it's good to see him resurrect his career down there in Miami.
Yeah, definitely. I always saw that he had a good bat and a lot of potential, and I was surprised the Brew Crew let him go just because he was so successful that 1 year, and sure, it could have been a flash in the pan, but he was good the entire year long, which wasn't like it was a time period of only like a month that he was raking. He had hot spurts, and definitely he was very hot and very cold, but he still had those hot spurts frequently enough that I thought warranted at least keeping on the roster. And it looks like Miami has kind of lucked out there because he's the best hitter on their team. I can't think of anywhere else. Who else would you put? I don't know. Like, he's their best hitter, bar none. So
probably Jazz. But even Jazz Chisholm, it doesn't have a track record. Like Corey Dickerson is the only guy that comes to mind. I just dropped him this week. He is actually getting on base at an amazing throw to clip, but it's Corey Dickerson. Speaking of those hot spurts, like you said, how about Josh Rojas? I know you picked him up. He's on a 10-game hitting streak right now, and to my knowledge, that's the longest hit streak in the majors. So I'm really excited about him. I always kind of knew the breakout was on the cusp. He's 27 now. In 2019 at AAA, he had a 418 on base percentage with 23 home runs and 83 RBIs and 33 stolen bases. So this guy, he does a little bit of everything, and I'm really liking what the D-backs have there. I think they got a stud in Rojas.
Yeah, I think I was seeing him at the beginning of the year really just because of his speed potential, and I picked him up just on a whim. Just thought, hey, why not? He's got a starting job. He seems to be playing often, and he did not deliver. I think I had him on my roster for 4 days, all the 4 days before I said, nah, I don't think he's ready yet. I don't think the breakout's coming this year. But then sure enough, because I had him on my team before and I kind of did a bit of research into him, when I saw he was heating up, I was like, okay, back on my team. Come on, bring it back in. And he definitely has not disappointed from the point on of, I believe he's starting in left field now. I haven't actually watched the D-backs game because, I mean, it's the D-backs. But I know that with some injuries and stuff that are going on there, this opened up even more opportunity for him. And overall, the D-backs have been pretty good offensively. I think there's a lot of hidden value out in the desert that a lot of people don't really recognize because they're not really a team anyone talks about. So I think that, coupled with the fact that, you know, his breakout hadn't really come yet and he was getting up to around 27, maybe people had written him off. I had kind of written him off. So just very lucky, good timing. I had a roster spot, thought, hey, why not give him another shot? And we'll see if he can keep it up. I personally believe he will. I just want to see some stolen bags. Like, where's the speed? You stole 33 bags in the majors, or in the minors, sorry. Right? Why aren't you doing that in the majors? But it could just be the Diamondbacks not allowing their players to run, just putting up a red light every time he gets down to first. So.
Yeah, and some teams have different philosophies when it comes to swiping bags. You'd think that those steals would travel in terms of across the minors to the majors because, all it is the strength of a catcher's arm. And, you'd think that speed is speed at the end of the day, but we'll see if that comes around for him. Like Rojas has been really good. The Diamondbacks actually do have a good lineup, like you mentioned. They have Christian Walker, who just came back from his oblique, although now he's back on the IL, so I'm frustrated about that. Eduardo Escobar is very streaky, but I like to give him his flowers when he does well.
His flowers.
David Peralta, obviously, I know you have him too. There's just a lot of good players up and down there in Arizona, and also that ballpark. There's something about being in the desert, I think, that creates a good hitting environment. I don't know what it is. I don't think there's much of an altitude there, but they do have a humidor in their ballpark, which is supposed to make the balls travel, a little bit less far. I don't know the specifics about that, but I do know that Arizona for a long time now and Chase Field has been a really good place for hitters.
Yeah, and they got a lot of gaps in the outfield, especially if you're a doubles hitter. There's a lot of room out there to get on. Yeah. So I think that moving forward, I will probably give more due to the hitters out in Arizona, where in the past maybe I was ignoring them because they were, in Arizona. So another guy I want to bring up, you mentioned him at the beginning, I believe off our first podcast, who looked really good, and I was also pretty sold on, but just hasn't delivered yet. And that's Ryan Mountcastle. He has 36 games played right now, 133 at bats, but an average just over the Mendoza line of 218, 12 RBIs, which not terrible. 45 total bags, which is okay. The one thing that stands out to me though is 42 Ks. That's a lot. He's striking out a ton. Wow. He does have 3 stolen bases, so salvaging some value there. His OPS is 581, so below the league average. And the one thing that stands out to me is a negative WAR. He's 693rd in the MLB in WAR. He's a negative 0.8. So just not really putting it together quite yet. He could turn it around. He's a great hitter, but definitely a slow start and would be sleeping on my bench right now.
Yeah, for sure. Another guy with a slow start that I can't end this segment without mentioning is Carlos Correa, because I can't stand Carlos Correa. I think that he's an arrogant prick, and he's hitting he's got a 693 OPS, so obviously that's not very good. He's only has 5 home runs, and I definitely was expecting a lot more from him, especially in a contract year. Trying to get the bag this offseason, and really that hasn't been the case. He just hasn't been clicking yet. And I'm here to say that Carlos Correa, for as much praise as he gets for those clutch moments in the playoffs, he's a one-time All-Star. Let's not forget that, folks. He is a one-time All-Star. He has never hit more than 24 home runs in a season. And I'm just here to tell you that he's not that good. He's not as cracked up. He's not as good as he's cracked up to be. So that's my hot take there. I'm not a big fan of Carlos Correa. I think that the defensive card that he played in that whole Astros scandal, it just wasn't the right move. I think that got on a lot of people's nerves. Like, just take your L and move on, like the rest of your teammates seem to do, and don't be the spokesman for the moral high ground of the game, and just kind of let us determine when we're over, what you've done and how you've disgraced this great game of baseball.
Yeah, he's a controversial guy, and he's had a lot of pressure on him all throughout his career from being such a highly touted prospect and being up so young. You know, being in the majors from the early age that he was, so many expectations on him. And aside from those few moments, as you mentioned, I think that he has fallen short. He was a keeper on my team for, I think, 2 years or so, because I just was waiting for him to really start, just crushing it basically. And he was passable. Like, he was definitely a very good shortstop compared to other shortstop on the league average. But I mean, he wasn't the superstar phenom like a Tatis is that I was expecting to see. He's never hit that level of superstardom, and I don't think he ever will. And very telling that, yeah, in his contract year, he's just really not showing up as of yet. So maybe he's able to turn it around, but I'm less confident of him there. So we'll see. He's batting in a really good lineup. He's got a lot of protection. I think he'll still get his cuts and put up some good numbers, but maybe not make as much as he was hoping he would at the start of the season.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's very good, right? But I'm just saying, if I'm a GM across the league, am I going to throw 9 figures at a guy that has never hit 100 RBIs, has never gone over 25 homers? To me, there's too much baggage there, and I'll let someone else make that mistake. That's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, very true. I agree with you there. Might not be worth the money, but who knows? He is still very young, and they could put, if, for example, say like the Yankees or the Dodgers take a shot on him. Although I don't know if the Dodgers would after everything that's happened, but take a shot on him, and he could really perform and turn into a veritable threat as what he was made out to be when he was drafted. So I wouldn't put a peg in him quite yet, but I also wouldn't be the first one to sign him if I'm a general manager. So do you want to move over to the next segment here?
Yeah. So before we get into the gas station of the week, I just wanted to mention that the Oakland A's are strongly considering relocating out of the East Bay there in Oakland. And this isn't the first time they've done this. Actually, in 2013, they actually wanted to move the team to San Jose. But the Giants actually blocked that. They claim that they have the territorial rights for the city of San Jose. And that actually caused the city to sue Major League Baseball. It got really messy. It got really ugly. But I think that eventually we're just going to have to see the A's in a different place. Like that Coliseum, it seems to be the only option for them in Oakland, and people don't like it. I hate watching games there. It's just a miserable looking ballpark. And where do you think would be a good destination for that team to end up? There's obviously a few places. People talk about Austin. It's an up and coming city there, and they'll probably have pro sports eventually in the near future. I'd love to see Vancouver, and I'd love to see your take on that, because you're obviously in that market, and you could probably pinpoint the things that would work, the things that wouldn't work. And what are some of your thoughts about that?
Biased me would definitely put Vancouver at the top of the list. There's not enough sports franchises out here for how large of a metropolis Vancouver is and the amount of money that exists in Vancouver. If you look at spending per capita on sporting events or just cars, anything luxury, anything that's entertainment, people in Vancouver have the money to ball out, to drive ticket prices up very expensively, to be able to buy paraphernalia, buy jerseys. I could totally see a market here, because in terms of Canadian content as well, in the majors, you see a lot of guys coming from out west, just because the summers are longer. People play baseball here for a lot longer, and it's a lot more prevalent, I think, than what we see farther east in Ontario. For example, I go down to just the neighborhood park about 5 minutes down the road from me. Saturdays and Sundays, it's just packed with kids playing baseball. They have an unreal little league. They've got like 9-10 teams for a little league, which is, you are in a large city, but the kids look pretty good too. It just seems to have a culture of baseball here. If I look at, like Jeff Francis's of the world, and just guys, the list goes on. Like it is the hub, I think, of baseball. It's the hotbed, yeah, for sure, in Canada. So it's so strange that there's not a team out here, just given the spending power and the amount of people that live in Vancouver. And just think of how beautiful of a ballpark you could build right on the Pacific. You would literally just put it right on the ocean. Like that would be ridiculous. You'd have one of the nicest ballparks in such nice weather. Yes, it rains a lot, but if you just think of the summertime where the temperature usually is just so calm and comfortable, it never gets way too hot. It's never that cold. It's usually pretty sunny all the time. Yes, you're going to get your probably rainouts at the start of the season and in your April, and then maybe around September again if the team's relevant going into playoffs in October. You'll probably get some showers again, but for the most part of the baseball season, you got ideal playing temperatures. And as a player, I would love to have Vancouver to be my home city. So that's enough of my plug, I think. But I definitely would be biased to say, like, I don't see why not, why it couldn't be Vancouver. Maybe the market's not big enough, and maybe because of Toronto fans, Jays fans, I should say, also being fans out in Vancouver, that they're thinking, oh, we'd be kind of splitting the fan base, and in that way we wouldn't be making as much revenue because Jays fans maybe out here trade to be Vancouver fans, and we're not gaining any new fans. We're just sort of pushing them away, not pushing them away, but pushing them to a different team. I don't necessarily think that's true, but maybe that is an argument that, oh, we just want Toronto to be Canada's team because we could make more revenue elsewhere.
I don't think that that's the case. I think that we've got a big enough country here. There's Jays fans that obviously support the team like crazy when they go down to Seattle. And that just speaks to your point. You make a great case for Vancouver, man. Like, we could actually have that Seattle-Vancouver rivalry become a thing. We could have, like you mentioned, the people have money there. There's more money in Vancouver, there seems to be, than anywhere else in the world from the housing market prices that are going on there. Like you mentioned, the weather's pleasant. You've got a beautiful background. You've got a beautiful, you could just have those 100 feet tall trees in the outfield, and that would just be a nice scenery right there. You wouldn't even need to build around the ocean or anything. Just Vancouver is a great city. I've been there, and it's one of a kind, really. Especially when you talk about this country, it's really a gem, and it's also a hotbed, like I mentioned. When you look at the Little League World Series, who's representing Canada? It's those teams from BC, whether it's Langley or there's a number of different neighborhoods and communities around Vancouver that are obviously really big into baseball.
Yeah.
And New so West. It makes sense on a lot of different fronts. Yeah. It really does. And like I said, for geographical reasons, you wouldn't have to move the A's out of the AL West. They could just slot up there in Vancouver. It just makes a lot of sense. Another place that makes a lot of sense is obviously Las Vegas, and that's probably the most likely scenario. Mm-hmm. When you just look at the A's AAA team is already even there in Vegas, the Aviators, and I think that would really make sense for in terms of the fan support. They've got a solid foundation there of people who are already up on the A's, and they've seen the Luzardos of the world come up through the system, and mm-hmm. they've got something of a connection to the team already. I think that if you're going to put the team in Vegas, then you have to account for, it's probably going to be a retractable roof situation, just given the, obviously the weather there is a bit hot all the time, it seems. And yeah, I think Vegas is also a great option. I think that one thing that could be a good segue when we're talking about Las Vegas is Drew Robinson. Have you heard about his story?
I have. I don't know a lot. I do know that he only had one eye, but I mean, fill me in on a bit more of the details.
Yeah, so Drew Robinson is a guy who had a cup of coffee with the Texas Rangers and the St. Louis Cardinals in 2017 and 2018. And he kind of really struggled. The team sent him down. And he just couldn't handle that very well, understandably. Baseball's a tough game, and it can really get you down. And especially if you're sent down to the minors, you could feel like that's it for you because that minor league pay is just not going to cut it. You're going to have to get a real job, and you're going to have to figure your life out. So understandably, he was under a lot of pressure. Just from what I've seen, it sounded like he was trying to be a bit of a perfectionist and couldn't amount to what his expectations were. And so he attempted to commit suicide, and he blew his eye out on that attempted suicide. 2 miles away from the ballpark, where this past week he hit a home run for the Sacramento River Cats, the San Francisco Giants AAA affiliate. And mm-hmm. It's just an amazing story, super inspiring. And I think there's a lot of people out there that have had a tough go this past calendar year with this COVID. And I just think that people can draw a lot of inspiration to that. Whatever you're going through, everybody's going through something. And
Mhm.
so it's great to see a guy like that really persevere, and I'll be rooting for him for sure. I think that it's incredible, even that he was able to get out there, let alone hit a home run for his team in his hometown. Thought that was really special.
Yeah, that's a special moment. It's something that, as you mentioned, a lot of people can connect with having so much of a dialogue around mental health that's been going on with COVID and being trapped in your house. And I'm sure everyone's at some level felt at least a little bit of like discomfort or unhappiness, just challenging times. And I think that when you see someone go through such a hard challenge to the point where, they pulled the trigger and now they're fighting their way back to try to recapture their dream, whether or not he gets there is irrelevant in my opinion. It's just inspiring to see. I think you mentioned just the amount of work that has to go in to be a professional baseball player, probably the amount of time he spent in the off season training, working out, trying to get his game back. And I can't even imagine how hard it is to hit with one eye. Like, wow, it's so impressive. So for me, I don't even think whether he makes it back to the majors or not. I think just the fact that he's put this effort in and how far he's come back after being in such a deep, dark place, that's really impressive. And I think a lot of people can draw inspiration from him.
Yeah, and a lot of people can resonate with just the feelings of unhappiness that he went through. I know it's been, I've had a decent year, but I know a lot of people haven't. And I've definitely had my dark times in the years before that. And just, you got to check in on your friends. You got to check in on people, because you never know what they may be going through. So, Luke, with that being said, do you want to get into the gas station segment and give me your picks for premium pitcher, mid grade, and your gas can?
Yeah. I'll start off. I'll just do one, and then I'll toss it back over to you. A guy who I really like. I don't even know why. I've just always had a soft spot for him, and through one of the several no hitters this year is Wade Miley. I guess I'll put him in my premium spot. He's not a premium pitcher, but I think it was a premium performance. So let's throw him up there. Premium performance. He's the premium grade of the week, we'll say. But I mean, he still is sporting a 2 ERA over 36 innings pitched, only giving up 8 earned runs and 47 Ks. Or sorry, I don't know if I'm reading that line right. No, definitely not 47. He does not strike guys out that much. Only 27 Ks. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. That's more in line. That's more in line with him. But you know what? K per 9 of 6.8, not terrible, not all-star stuff. But hey, if he keeps his ERA around 2 and his WHIP around 0.75, he's gonna do very well for himself in the future. I think it's scary though for me because he pitches in Cincinnati. Tough to see him keeping the ERA around there, pitching in Great American Ballpark. That being said, I don't know. He just finds a way to get guys out, induces a lot of soft contact, and he's just a pitcher that you kind of always count out, but is having a really great year and had a really awesome, memorable performance. So yeah, just shout out to Wade Miley there in my premium slot.
That's great. I'll give him my premium pick. My premium pick for the week is Brandon Woodruff for the Brewers. I think he's gone under the radar. He's arguably been the best pitcher in the National League Central, him and Jack Flaherty, pitching to a 1.73 ERA and a 0.77 WHIP with a 51-11 K to walk ratio. And when everybody gives Corbin Burns his praise for, what he's been able to accomplish, and it is spectacular, I do think that he's been a little bit underappreciated, maybe, because I do think that him and Burns are hands down the best 1-2 punch in the big leagues right now. I'd love to start a series with the two of them, and that's my premium pick for the week.
Nice. Okay, I'll take mid grade, and I'd put him in mid grade. He's been, again, another guy performing premium grade, 7 quality starts. So outside of his first start of the year, he's thrown a quality start every time. Pitched 1 complete game. I believe it was only 8 inning complete game, but 2.28 ERA.
Here, who are you talking about?
Do you know who it is? I was going to make you guess. I'm
loving the build up.
So
here.
Who do you think this is? I'm just giving you the stats, and I was going to try to make you guess who this is.
Honestly, Luke, I'm actually not up on your team very much. I have to take a look. I want to take a good look, but you just enlighten me and let me know who you're talking about here.
All right, I'm talking about Kyle Gibson.
Kyle
And
Gibson.
you wouldn't think it, but he's performing at the top of the league in terms of WAR, bumped up to 1.9 WAR, which is fourth, good for fourth in the league, which is crazy because who expected that? I don't know. I guess it's early season. He's a pitcher. You go through hot streaks, but he's looked dominant and he's been hitting the mitt exactly where he wants to throw the ball. I've watched 2 of his starts and he's been absolute pinpoint control. So yeah, who knows? Maybe the littlest thing changes and he starts losing it a bit. But I'm just gonna ride the wave for now, and he's my mid grade.
Ride the wave. It's risky business when you're dealing with guys like Kyle Gibson, but maybe he's having a turnaround season. And, the stuff was always there, right? It was just kind of, why do you get hit so hard every season is kind of the question. But, I mean, this year he's done a great job. You can't take that away from him. And actually, I like a lot of the things that the Rangers pitching has been able to do. I know they've been inconsistent. Arihara has been really inconsistent, but he's had some good starts. Same thing with Folty. There, my mid-grade pitcher of the week is Huascar Yanoa from the Braves, and I mean he's arguably been the ace of that Braves staff right now, which speaks volumes to the struggles that they're having. I mean, with guys like Morton being unreliable, and even Max Fried in the early going, it's been Huascar Yanoa who's kind of held things down with his 44-9 K to walk ratio, very respectable 2.23 ERA to a .89 WHIP, and one interesting stat that I heard about Yanoa is of the 607 pitches he's thrown this year, only 11 of those pitches have met barrels. So good luck squaring this guy up right now. He's just been money. Really like watching him pitch, and he also falls under that pitchers who rate category. Definitely helps his own cause a lot of the time.
Yeah. You know what? Like that is a very well-researched segment on your part. So well done, Justin. Well done.
Thank you. I try my best. I go to Baseball Savant. I do a few things here and there, but that's probably the deepest I'll get into the big category stats of the week. I'm mostly just K to walk when it comes to these gas station segments, and that to me that kind of encapsulates who the best pitchers have been, because are you pounding the zone? That's basically where
can you throw a strike?
Yeah, can you pound the zone? Are you throwing strikes? Those are the things that matter to me, and so that's my mid grade pitcher. Tristan McKenzie's my gas can.
Ooh, okay.
I've had pretty high expectations for Tristan McKenzie, but he leads the major leagues in average exit velocity at 95.8 miles an hour. And so technically, that means that any ball that gets hit in play right now is more likely to be a base hit than it is to be an out, which is just obviously warning signs left, right, and center. He also owns the 9th worst barrel rates at 18%, and he's walking a batter an inning right now. So, like I said, I love Tristan McKenzie, but he's got to get that in line before I can take him off that gas can list.
True. Yeah, he's looking highly flammable right now. This guy is soaked. He's soaked in some gasoline. Yeah, he's just waiting to get torched. And I mean, yeah, it's tough because he's a young guy. I had him on my team a bit. I think at the end of last year, I picked him up. He was pretty good, but I don't want to be mean here. I'm trying to mince my words and be nice, but God damn, is this guy skinny? he's a freaking rake, man. I was gonna say, he's got an athletic build. No, this guy's just skinny as heck. I don't understand. It looks like his arm is gonna snap off every time he throws a baseball. But
I like seeing the unfiltered Luke more often.
I was trying to be nice there. I'm like, how do I say this and not sound like a dick? But I'm just gonna let it. I'm just gonna say it like it is. This guy, he's a rake. Anyways,
I've been listening back to a few of our shows, and I'm like, man, I'm killing these guys. And speaking of, I gotta give props where props is due. Danny Jansen did have 3 straight home runs.
He did
consecutively.
I noticed that too. Yeah,
and I mean, he's still not over the Jansen line, and it is what it is. We're not gonna go back there, but man, I do have to give credit where credit's due. It'd be easy for him to, fold the tent and pick up his bags and go back to Appleton, Wisconsin there, and go back to live with Adam Jones. But he hasn't done that. He's stuck to the bottom of the big leagues, and he's just going to be a good blocker and just do what he does for the Jays, and I'll have to accept that.
Yeah, I mean, he was working really well with Ryu today. They seem to have some connection. I don't know. They're just, don't see a lot of times that Ryu's shaking him off. So I like when he's catching him, and block that ball, get your chest in front of it. That's what you get paid for. That's your job.
I mean, there's no question he's one of the best defensive catchers. I mean, he really is. He really is a great catcher back there. But there's a lot of catchers who struggle with the bat, and so it is what it is. I think we have to just give him his credit for that, and prepare to be frustrated most of the time.
Yep, that's fair.
So Luke, who's your gas can pick for the week?
It sucks because this is the guy I really like, but man, he's been terrible this year. Luis Castillo, what's going on, man?
What are you
doing? Like, how do you go from being as good as you have been to where you're at now? In seven starts, you have one quality start. You've absolutely underperformed to the point that your ERA is just under 7. So, I mean, okay, short season, but like 6.42 ERA, he's 1-4. So, teams obviously not help him out with the bat, but with the amount of runs he's giving up, not looking great. He's only pitched through 33 innings, and he's given up 45 hits in 33 innings. And to bring up just the classic stats, the K to base on balls, he's got 26 Ks to 10 walks. So not striking guys out either. Not a ton of walks, but it's still very concerning to see a 7 K per 9 and a negative WAR and a WHIP above 1.5. It's 1.63 right now. So I don't know. Maybe he'll figure it out. He probably will. He's good, but he is a gas can right now, and I am staying far away with any other flammable substance or any sort of match, any sort of lighter. I'm keeping a full distance. I'm staying on the other side. I'm staying in Kentucky. I'm staying on the other side of the bridge from Luis Castillo if I'm lighting anything. So he's highly flammable right now. He's my gas can.
He should be far away from Covington, where you're going to be staying there.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at some of these warning signs, I mean, 12 hits per 9, that's a bit out of whack. He's actually keeping the ball in the park at 1.3 homers per 9, which is also concerning because how are these guys getting around? How are they just mashing on him in one of the most homer friendly ballparks? And he's got a 1.634 WHIP. So the warning signs are everywhere for this guy. It's just shocking to me. I mean, he's been one of the most consistent performers. He was actually your premium pitcher in the debut episode, wasn't he?
He blew up in the first episode, like the first game, and I think I was gonna make him my gas can, but I was like, nah, he's too good to make my gas can. I can't remember exactly what I said about him, but I was just very surprised that he had such a terrible start in the first game of the year. But I went on to say how much I liked him, and I think he'd bounce back. So bounce back hasn't happened yet. So not holding my breath, but it could happen. But he's good. He's having a down year, 100%.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Just looking through some of the things here that I've got to talk about that I wanted to mention. What do we got here? Anyways, maybe I should turn it over to you and see if you've got any ideas. Just because, I mean, with the vaccine today and everything, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit of a lax preparation for today's show.
Yeah.
So maybe Mother's Day. I mean, I love the pink bats. What did you think about that? Do you like watching those Mother's Day games?
I like the pink bats, but I didn't like the hats. It honestly just looked like someone drew on the Jays logo with a red Sharpie and then put it in the wash too many times. I wasn't sure what was going on there. It just looked really dumb. I don't know if you noticed the logo. It was like this faded pink that looked by accident, but I mean, okay, the bats are nice. I like the bats. That was a good touch. But Mother's Day. I don't know. What did you do for Mother's Day? I know this isn't about baseball, but what did you get up to?
I mean, we just had brunch, me and my family, and it was a really nice time. Obviously, my mom has had her battles with breast cancer the last few years. So having her come out on the other side of that is just obviously amazing. And I'm truly thankful that every day, I hope that every mother had a great day on Sunday, and they're truly just the best. I mean, they are what holds up our world. They are the reason that we haven't gone nuclear and just killed all of us, because they keep us in perspective. And yeah, I mean, I love the pink bats. I know what you're saying. It's funny that some of the pitchers, like the starting pitchers, just could not give a fuck about Mother's Day pink. Like they were just not going to be thrown off their routine. They were going out there with the exact uniform they always go out there on.
Yeah.
And I know, like, who was it? DeGrom, Nola. Some of those guys got some slack for not showing any love to the pink, I guess, initiative there.
Yeah, I mean, they're professionals. It's their choice. It's nice to see when they do, but at the same time, I kind of understand a bit because they're just so superstitious. I mean, if I think of hockey players and goalies, like the goalies are just, they're nuts. They're crazy. I mean, most goalies have a couple screws loose. I feel like that's like that, but on steroids for pitchers. They definitely have something going on up there mentally that, yeah, I wouldn't want to set them off either because they're literally 1 inch away from, being a good pitcher to being an absolute gas can. So that's all it takes in the game of baseball. Would love to see them wear it, but I mean, hey, if they don't want to, not going to force them. I'm going to have a great Mother's Day anyways. I unfortunately wasn't able to spend it with my mom being out west now, but had a great talk with her over the phone. I actually found out that she's a huge fan of The Circle. I don't know if you watch that show at all, but it is quite entertaining. I've been watching with my girlfriend actually. And we like to throw it on like late at night when we're just firing off some emails, like answering some work stuff. And we'll put it in the background. And my mom was quite into it. I was actually quite surprised. I didn't know that she would be as into the drama and the gossip of reality television. But it was actually fun to talk to her about that a little bit, find some common ground there.
Yeah, Molly's trying to get me into some of these reality shows. And actually, you know what? Once in a while, I can't even lie. I do like listening to in the background just when she's watching like Beverly Hills or what's the other one? Summer House or some of those shows. It's just there's drama and good looking women. So, I mean, you can't go wrong. One thing, Luke, actually, that I did want to mention is Mookie Betts. He's off to a slow start for his standards. 7 RBIs on the campaign. And I just had a question for you. Do you think that after some reflection, do you think that the Red Sox actually might have made a good trade? They got Alex Verdugo and Jeter Downs in that deal. And I mean, I know they gave up Mookie Betts, a generational talent. But if you don't think the guy's worth $300 million, you just let him go for greener pastures and you see what you can do with the guys that you can develop. Because I don't know, I like Mookie, but I don't know if he's worth $300 million. I think that he's a very talented player, but he's not showing up this year so far. So I just want to get your thoughts on that.
I mean, if money is no object as an organization, you have Mookie Betts on your team. It doesn't matter what you need to pay him, you pay him because he's just that good. And I think for Los Angeles, that makes a lot of sense. They just have such deep pockets. They do not care. They will overpay. It's fine. We want to get him because he's one of the best players in the majors. And I do truly believe that. He's just so dynamic. Yeah. He's great defensively. He's got a cannon of an arm. This guy's an asset he's just an unreal athlete. On top of being a great baseball player too. From what I've heard, he's also a great guy in the clubhouse. So usually that goes talked about a bit, from the general perspective. It does matter. If you want to win championships, you need guys who are going to get along. So I think it's surprising that he's having such a poor start. If I'm Boston, I'm not willing to pay him $300 million, then it makes total sense. Let him go, get some return on your investment a little bit there. Because if you weren't going to be able to sign him anyways, then better than not getting anything at all and just watching him walk. That for me, that would have been extremely painful as a Red Sox fan. It would have been excruciating just to watch Mookie Betts walk away and not be re-signed. So at least they got something for him. I'm in the big Mookie Betts camp. I don't believe he's better than Mike Trout, but I do think that he is a generational talent, and all the Dodgers are going to turn it around this year. They're just having a terrible start right now for their standards anyways. So bats are going to heat up. Weather's going to get warmer, and watch out for Mookie Betts because I think he's going to come out swinging soon.
Yeah, for sure. And I think people might have gone a little overboard saying he was the best player in baseball last year. I definitely don't. I think that he's top five. And I don't want this to sound like this is Mookie slander from me, because I am a big Mookie Betts fan. But I'm just saying, the only surprising thing to me is that the Red Sox seem to have deep pockets of their own. And so it was kind of, I was skeptical as to, why an organization would just let a talent like that go. But in hindsight, if you don't think the guy's worth the money, then there's other guys that you need to keep your eye on, and you got to keep it moving. And I think that, for the most part, it's worked out for the Red Sox so far. Mm-hmm. And maybe they got a little too much criticism is all I'm saying.
Yeah, Verdugo's been a lot better than I thought. I thought he was a solid player in LA, but he's shown up a lot more than I gave him credit for originally. And now that he's getting a real chance to play, he's turning some heads out in Boston. And yeah, I think it's more even than what was originally made out to be. It's definitely not a Zach Davies and Yu Darvish kind of situation. But yeah, I think Boston as a whole sounds like a great organization to play for. I don't know if there's any bitter feelings between Mookie and the fans. I know that Mookie was kind of pissed at the beginning of his career there, as there was a delay for bringing him up just to make sure that his contract was going to be honored for longer. And then it turns out that they weren't going to re-sign him anyways. So maybe they never had a plan to re-sign the guy. Who knows? Maybe they've got some insider intel that, we can only speculate about. But I don't know. I'm just such a big Mookie Betts fan. It's just hard to think that your team wouldn't be better off without him on your squad. So.
Yeah. And that decision was made before the pandemic. So there wasn't any of those financial consequences that were weighed into that decision. So I think that that's an interesting talking point, and I wanted to bring that up. Before we get out of here, Luke, Trevor Story has just 4 home runs in 135 plate appearances. And so I was wondering, do you think this is a case of the Rockies being so bad that he's just not getting any pitches to hit? Or do you think he's legitimately slowing down at all?
Could be a bit of both. It's tough to say. If I were to bet on it, I'd say it's a bit of both, because yes, you're not getting good pitches, but also you're not seeing other guys have a ton of success on your team. So it's a whole, a high tide raises all boats. They don't have a great offensive team. There's probably not an energy. There's no electricity in the clubhouse happening right now. They all probably know they're not going to make the playoffs. It just might just be hard for him to get up. I don't mean get up as in wake up. It's just like literally get excited to get out there and go play and go compete, because he knows no matter what he does, the team's still going to be bad. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe he'll turn it around, but maybe he's getting older. He's on his decline. Sad to see, because he definitely, I remember, I think it was 4 years ago, I was in Chile actually, the year he came up, and he smashed 3 home runs in one of his first games up. And from that point on, definitely made his mark on the majors, and maybe just needs a rejuvenation. Maybe needs a trade out of there. What do you think about that?
Well, I definitely don't think he's going to be wearing that purple uniform all season. I think that there's definitely going to come a time where he says, listen, it's been real. It's been fun. I'd like a chance to win a championship and show that I'm the best shortstop in baseball, because Francisco Lindor has made it clear that he is the best shortstop in baseball, whether he's proving that or not. And I think that be made that Story is definitely better with the glove, and I think the guy rakes. He does have a bit of suspect numbers away from Coors Field, similar to Nolan Arenado, who's been pretty good for St. Louis so far. I know that the numbers have dropped off like we thought they would for Nolan, but being in that better Cardinals lineup probably is going to balance that out. And the Cardinals are playing good baseball right now, so props to Arenado. But back to Story, yeah, I think that he'll be traded in, and it's probably not going to be very long before the Rockies' new GM, whoever that is, I don't think anybody even knows who is managing the front office there, realizes that it's time.
Yeah, it's sad to see. I've always liked the Rockies. I'd say the Rockies, the Padres, and the Dodgers are my 3 favorite teams in the NL to watch. Something about watching games in Colorado, I think I just like the ballpark a lot. Maybe that's it. It just sucks when the team sucks. Sucks when one of your favorite teams to watch just has a squad that you're just not very excited about. They just got to start the rebuild. Start it now. Honestly, just trade him away. Give up on the season.
Trade him away for sure. And Luke, you mentioned 3 teams in the NL West there. One team you left out, the San Francisco Giants, they've actually felt a lot of disrespect throughout the clubhouse. I know that a lot of people in baseball have been saying that there's no chance that they're going to make the playoffs, even with the great start they've gotten off to. And I mean, there's baseball lifers in there. They've got Giants veterans like Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford, who are both playing well. They've got Evan Longoria. They've got Buster Posey, who's having a rejuvenated season. I mean, Buster's got 8 home runs and 12 RBIs, which I thought was a little bit like, what's going on there? Is he just, can we get him up in the order a little bit, Bruce Bochy, or what's like, come on, let's find a solution for that.
Yeah.
But so the Giants they're clicking on all cylinders. They've got guys like Yastrzemski who haven't even really played well yet. And I'm really interested in that team. I think that they've got a lot of good players, maybe not like really great players, but a lot of solid contributors.
Yeah.
And I think they're feeling a little bit neglected or disrespected out there.
Yeah, their pitching staff's looking good too. And I mean, I would throw San Fran in on the same level as Colorado because they too as well have a really great ballpark. And I guess my personal bias, my parents bought me a San Fran jersey back when they went and visited. And ever since then, I don't know, it's something about having the jersey of a team that all of a sudden you just kind of start cheering for them a little bit. So I have been a bit of a San Fran fan. But in years past, I think maybe, as you mentioned, kind of fell out of love with them a bit just because they had such a boring team, not a lot of offense. But this year, it's an exciting year. I have been catching more San Fran games, actually. That whole division, I just like watching. It's weird. I noticed that it seems all my favorite teams in the NL, or even in baseball, aside from the Jays, are all in that division. So it's great. You get to watch them all play at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the National League is definitely more interesting from a ballpark perspective. I think that there's just so much uniqueness. And the American League, I mean, you've got a lot of, like we mentioned, Oco, Coliseum, you've got Trop, you've got just a lot of, I'd call them basic parks, like the White Sox and stuff. It's you've got some great ones sprinkled in there with Target Field. That's probably my favorite ballpark out there in Minnesota. But no reason to watch the Twins these days with the way they're playing. They're actually slipping into the danger zone. They're 8 out in the American League Central, and I mean it's getting to be panic time in Minneapolis because there's just nothing going on there. They can't get the pitching to be consistent
Kent
enough.
has been bad too.
Have chances to win,
yeah. I don't know what's going on there. I would have picked them to be probably second or third in that division, and they don't even look like they're competitive right now. So that's definitely concerning. Maybe we're just not giving enough credit to the other teams in the division, but I haven't really watched too many of the Twins games. Beautiful ballpark though, so we'll definitely want to go and watch one there. I know you got a chance to go visit, but I have yet to be to Target Field yet myself.
Yeah, we had a great time out there in Mini, me, Jack, and Alex. Just a really unique ballpark experience there. And but yeah, the team needs to get it together. They just aren't meshing well there.
Maybe it's a clubhouse issue. You never know. Maybe the guys just need to have a couple drinks and I guess you can't go out on the town, but I don't know. I'm not even sure what the rules are because I know during the NHL season, a couple of the Russian guys on Washington got caught having some drinks in their hotel room the one night, and they got suspended like 5 games. And there's a bit of an uproar about it because all of those guys had already had COVID within like the last, I think it was 2 months because it was right at the start of the year. So in the off season, they had COVID. So they had, as they said, the antibodies. So they couldn't have had, basically like getting a shot. So they were kind of pissed. They're like, well, we're hanging out with these guys anyways. Like literally whenever I score a goal, this dude's coming up and giving me a hug. Like what's the difference between this and, now I'm back at the hotel. I can't have a drink with some of my friends. But it's interesting. I don't know what the regulations are for the MLB.
The whole thing with the pandemic, there's just been so much that just makes no sense in so many aspects of our lives that to hear millionaires complain about their situations, I don't have any time to hear it because I mean, I know that, Molly was in the Canadian Tire parking lot today for over an hour and a half with curbside pickup. There was like 100 cars waiting to get their stuff. So it's just like, man, I don't want to hear from you. If I want to hear people with a hard life story, I'll go to downtown and share a beer with some of the homeless guys down there. Just because, anyways, there's a lot of situations that they don't realize are like 3,000 times worse than what they're dealing with. And I know that this isn't a hockey podcast, but I heard that Robin Lehner was complaining about, not being able to go out. Man, it's a competitive advantage that you just can't, you can't have some teams being able to have completely loose restrictions and other teams are completely free. I know that in baseball, the Padres are struggling to get to that 85% vaccination rate. And that's been a tough thing for them to, they haven't been able to loosen their restrictions.
Okay. Well, why is that? Is it because people are saying, I don't want to get vaccinated, or is it that they can't actually get it done based on restrictions?
No, there's definitely the access there to get it done, but there's just differing views. Political views obviously influence that decision.
Gotcha.
And Tatis got COVID yesterday, so he used 2 negative tests before he can play.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's time to move on, and I'm really excited to get some traveling plans in order. Like I said, I really want to see a ballpark before the season's up. And who knows, maybe I'll even find my way over to the West Coast before the season ends, and we can go down to Seattle there and have a good little time there at a Safeco Field. I'm never calling it T-Mobile Park.
Mic drop. Yeah, no, that'd be great, man. I hope that works out and we're able to do that. Borders are open, and I haven't been to Seattle yet since moving here almost 2 years ago now. So we'll definitely be a day to look forward to, and things are looking up. I'm very optimistic. So let's I'm gonna say let's end it on that. I say, as Justin does, I hope you had a
Bloop and a blast, and take buddy.
You too.
Have a good night.
See you.